many of you have heard me talk since I started coming to these youth nights. I tend to be a pretty quiet person, but I really love giving talks, and so I'm so excited to be able to share with you all tonight. I don't know what it is that brought you here tonight. I don't know if you desire a deeper relationship with Christ, or maybe you have questions and you're looking for answers, or maybe you're just here because your parents made you come, or you have a homework assignment due first thing tomorrow morning, you just wanted to put it off a little bit longer. But regardless, I'm really glad that you're here so I have the opportunity to talk to y'all. I remember when I was in high school, I joined campus ministry in the middle of my sophomore year of high school. And the reason why I joined campus ministry was because National Honor Society applications had just come out, and I was a club short of meeting the requirements to apply. So I was really stressed, and I was walking in the third floor hallway of Mount Carmel, which is where a lot of the religion classrooms were, and Mrs. Michael came out of her classroom, and she was the campus minister. So she called me over to her, and I was a little surprised because I knew who she was, but I didn't have any classes with her, and I never met her before. But I went over, and she asked me what was wrong, and I told her. She gave me a hug, and she said, "Don't even worry about it. You can be in campus ministry. I'll sign your paper." I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." She said, "But you need to promise me one thing first." And I was about willing to promise anything at this point. But she said, "I want you to come to the next campus ministry rosary." And so the next Tuesday, I found myself sitting in the grotto at Mount Carmel with a borrowed rosary in my hand, like going over all the prayers in my head of the rosary, trying to remember them all, practicing my intention that I was going to say over and over and over again so I wouldn't mess it up when it was my turn. And I remember looking around at all of these people surrounding me, all of these other students and faculty members and parents. And I remember thinking, wow, these people are so holy and I am so not. And these people probably have incredible relationships with Jesus and with Mary, and I don't. And I felt so unworthy of being there. I felt so out of place. But for some reason, month after month after month, I found myself going back to these rosaries. From the first rosary that I went to until the time I graduated from Mount Carmel, I didn't miss a single rosary. I was at every single one of them, including the ones for athletes when I most certainly was not an athlete. And I ended up joining campus ministry for real, and I joined the core team of campus ministry where I helped plan retreats and prayer services for Mount Carmel. And if you would have asked me at the time why did I go to these rosaries, why did I join campus ministry, why did I want to be on the core team, I don't know what I would have told you because I honestly had no clue. I wish that I could tell you that at that first rosary I had this Saul to Paul type of conversion where I felt my heart ignite with love for the Lord, where I felt the Lord stirring my heart and recognized that it was Him, but I didn't. It wasn't until my freshman year of college when I was on a retreat, kneeling in a small, crowded chapel, and the priest was standing in front of me holding a monstrance with the Blessed Sacrament inches from my face that I first felt my heart stir, and I first realized it was the Lord stirring my heart. And it wasn't until my sophomore year of college, when I was at a conference surrounded by thousands of other Catholic students, that I began to realize how empty my life had felt before that first rosary. And it wasn't until my senior year of college, almost, 6 years later, when I was on a retreat in Nashville with the Dominican Sisters of St. Cecilia, listening to the priest give talk after talk after talk on the woman at the well, that I even began to understand why I had kept going back rosary after rosary after rosary. And so that's what I want to share with you tonight, is the story of the woman at the well, because it is probably one of, if not my favorite stories in the Bible, and I think it is so, so powerful. So I'm going to read it, and I just want you to all close your eyes and just take it in. Now, when Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard Jesus is making and baptizing more disciples than John, although it was not Jesus himself, but his disciples who baptized, he left Judea and started back to Galilee. But he had to go through Samaria. So he came to the Samaritan city called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired out by his journey, was sitting by the well. It was about noon. A Samaritan woman came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." His disciples had gone to the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask a drink of me, a Samaritan woman?" Jews do not share things in common with the Samaritans. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God, and who it was that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have no bucket, but the well is deep. Where do you get that living water? And are you greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us the well, and with his sons and his flocks drank from it?" Jesus said to her, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again. But those who drink of the water that I will give them will never be thirsty. The water that I will give will become in them a spring of water gushing up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I may never be thirsty or have to keep coming here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go call your husbands and come back." The woman answered him, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You were right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you say that the place where people must worship is in Jerusalem." Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming and is now here when the worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father seeks such as these to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." The woman said to him, "I know that the Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. When he comes, he will proclaim all things to us." Jesus said to her, "I am he, the one who is speaking to you." Just then his disciples came. They were astonished that he was speaking with a woman, but no one said, "What do you want?" or "Why are you speaking with her?" Then the woman left her water jar and went back into the city. She said to the people, "Come and see a man who told me everything I have ever done. He cannot be the Messiah, can he?" They left the city and were on their way to him. Okay, so like I said, this is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite stories in the Bible, because I think it is so powerful, but also I think it's one of my favorites because it's the one that I need to hear the most. So we have this woman, and she's going to the well because she needs water, right? We need water to live. We cook with water so we can eat. We drink water. We bathe with water. And so she has this need of water that drives her to the well. And so I imagine her going to the well carrying this heavy jar, and it's probably like one of those ceramic jars that are super, super heavy. And she carries it to the well at noon, the hottest part of the day. And this is kind of strange because the well was located a little ways out of town usually, like back then. And so when women would go to the water to get water, they would usually go either early in the morning or later in the evening when the sun was rising or when it was setting, so that way it was much cooler outside. And so her going to the well at noon is a little strange. And the priest on the retreat that I went on proposed this. So we know that this woman is a sinner. She talks with Jesus about some of her sins. And if we put ourselves in her position, we can imagine the shame that she must have felt, how much of an outsider she must have felt, how unworthy she must have felt. She has found a way to sort of make herself invisible to the rest of the town. She goes to the well when she knows no one else will be there to avoid the harsh whispers and the judging stares. She's found a way to come and go without anyone even noticing. And then we have Jesus. Jesus is in Judea with his apostles, and they're heading back to Galilee. And it said he had to go through Samaria. And so I don't know if you know anything about like Middle Eastern geography at this time. I didn't know anything. But you have Judea at the top, and then Galilee's at the bottom, and in the middle you have Samaria. And so if you were looking at a map, it sort of makes sense that Jesus would have to go through Samaria in order to get from Judea to Galilee. But we have to remember that the Jews and Samaritans didn't really get along. There were laws that prohibited them from interacting with one another. And so most of the time, when Jews were traveling from Judea to Galilee, there was a path that would take them around Samaria instead of through it, in order to avoid conflicts between the Jews and the Samaritans. And so Jesus going through Samaria to get to Galilee isn't necessarily the normal way that he would have gone. And so if he doesn't have to go through Samaria for geographical reasons, then he must be going through Samaria for something else. And so I picture this journey. I picture Jesus and his apostles tired. They've been walking all day, they're hungry and thirsty, their feet hurt, their bodies hurt. And they get to this well. And Jesus' apostles go off to find food and drink because they have no bucket to get water from the well, like the Samaritan woman points out. But Jesus sits and he waits at this well. And I picture him smiling when he sees this woman approach down the same path that he just came down, carrying her bucket. Because he knows that she is why he had to come to Samaria. This woman who is invisible to everyone else, he saw her. He saw her need, and he knew that her need for water would drive her to this well. And so he was there, and he was waiting for her. And that is why this is my favorite story. That is why I think this story is so powerful. Because that Jesus that we read about in the story, who sees the Samaritan woman when no one else does, who sees her need and is there waiting for her, that's our Jesus. That is the Jesus who sits and waits for us, who waits for us in Mass and in adoration and in confession and here every Sunday night. Because you see, we are all in need. Every single one of us is in need. We all walk the same path as the Samaritan woman, carrying our heavy jars to the well, filling it with things that are supposed to keep us alive, with things that are supposed to sustain us and satisfy us, only to run out, only for them not to satisfy us. And so we have to carry our jar back to the well again, over and over and over, day after day after day. I've thought about this a lot. I've thought about, what well is it that I go to? What do I fill my jar up with? And I realized that for most of my life, I've cared a lot what people think of me. I've thought, if people just like me, if people want to be friends with me, if people think I'm smart, if people think I'm funny, if people think I'm this, if people think I'm that, then I will be good. I will be satisfied. I will be living a good life. I will not want for anything. But I was never satisfied. Suddenly, making good grades wasn't enough. I had to make the best grades. And someone wanting to be friends with me wasn't enough, because the one time they couldn't hang out with me, maybe I did something to offend them and they didn't really want to be my friend anymore. I was never satisfied. And then one day, the campus minister at Mount Carmel asked me to go to a rosary. And I said yes, because I was in need, because I needed another club, because I needed to be a National Honor Society, because I needed to put it on my resume for college. I was in need. And I went to this rosary, and what I found there waiting for me there was Jesus. I left that rosary feeling so full, feeling content, feeling satisfied, something that I hadn't really felt before. Because you see, Jesus saw my need. And he knew that my need would drive me to the grotto at Mount Carmel on that day. And he was there waiting for me. And he has waited for me at every retreat that I've gone on and every conference that I've been to. And he still waits for me, because there are so many times where I go to reach for that jar, to carry it to the well and fill it with things that I think I need. And he has to remind me of who he is, and that he is all that I need. He is what will satisfy me. And you see, Jesus waits for you too. He is waiting for you here tonight. No matter why you came, he is here waiting for you because he sees your need. Even if you don't know that you're in need, even if you feel invisible or you don't feel it here, he is here waiting for you. Because he waited for the Samaritan woman at the well, and he waited for me at the grotto, and he is waiting for you, because why wouldn't he be? The last part of this story that I want to talk about is the ending. So the woman leaves the well, and she goes into town to tell everyone who she met and what he has done for her. And she leaves the jar at the well. And that seems kind of strange, right? Because she came to the well because she needed water, but she leaves the jar there. You see, she no longer had a need for the jar. She no longer needed to carry it back and forth, back and forth. Because on this day, she met Jesus, and he showed her who he was. And she understood that he is what would satisfy her. He is what would sustain her. And so she goes back down the path she's gone down 1,000 times before, but this time it's different. Because this time she's not carrying that heavy jar. I imagine how light she must have felt, how free she must have felt. And this is the freedom that Christ offers every single one of us. And so I encourage you to leave your jar at the well. Leave it here tonight. Whatever it is that you think that you need, leave it here. And if not now, then whenever. Know that whenever or wherever you end up, Jesus is there waiting for you. Waiting to show you who he is. Waiting to give you the living water that will satisfy you and sustain you, just as he did for the woman at the well.